God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. Bit climatic and cinematic. It's it's certainly something, and there are lots of debate about this exact words or quote from Friedrich Nietzsche book, The Gay Science. So I know it's funny. Gay, it's in the name. Gay, okay, it's funny. So that's not what the book about. It's joyous. It happened to be joyous in back in the day. So the English language changed. So the words and its meaning has changed. I think George Orwell would hated that. So the gay means happy, sort of joyous, right? Why I'm talking about this specific phrase, right? There is lots of uh, debate about this exact same quote. On the one hand, there are people who say, see, the thing is, Friedrich Nietzsche, he did not celebrate the death of God. He actually wept for the God. He saw this as a really sad thing. It makes me sad, and people misunderstand Nietzsche. For these people, I would say you haven't read Antichrist, written by the same author, Friedrich Nietzsche, of course. And maybe you haven't read The Birth of Tragedy or Thus Spoke Zarathustra. So, of course, I'm not Jordan Peterson. I'm not smart like him by any means. Okay. So the other side of group say the God is dead, and you know what? We killed him, and he will remain dead. The other side is the atheist spectrum of the argument, right? I would say they are both are wrong. It is not an argument. Obviously, my interpretation is not the correct one or the exact interpretation. Fortunately, writings of Friedrich Nietzsche is up for interpretation, just like writings of Dostoevsky. The same way with writings of the Richard Dawkins. The same way, I can go on, and go on. The philosopher and literature, many of the things the reader can interpret. Now let us think what you cannot interpret. Exactly, you cannot interpret the words of God. Okay, for example, the Bible you cannot interpret. It's the words of God, and I mean, if you interpret, who gives you the right to interpret, and who gives you the right to give meaning, different meanings to what the God said to Abraham with the one way or another. And another book would be Quran, the final revelation, and its final revelation is the word of God and it's the truth. Okay, you cannot interpret. But after thousands of years after, there are some hadith interpreting the exact book, which is say this is not up for interpretation. The people interpret it, which in my personal opinion, I think whoever wrote hadith should be go to witch trial. That's blasphemy. So let us not talk about religion anymore. Let us talk about Friedrich Nietzsche. So it is safe to say, for obviously this all from my personal opinion and from what I read and with my little brain, what I came up regarding Nietzsche. And keep in mind, I don't have a PhD in philosophy nor a degree in philosophy. Okay, I just read some source material and I watch some of a professor, what his name, Sergey, yeah, Professor Sergey lectures and some unsolicited advice, and I took introduction to philosophy as well. That's all I know. Okay, when it's come to philosophy, I know this much. But it is safe to say Friedrich Nietzsche is a fucking mosquito. No, I mean not. Friedrich Nietzsche is not a mosquito. The mosquito was right there with me. So Friedrich Nietzsche was an atheist. He is not agnostic. He is, I would say, Friedrich Nietzsche was not only atheist, he was anti-theist. if you read his work like Beyond Good and Evil, okay, or Birth of Tragedy, which I don't have right now, okay, you would know, and Antichrist also, which I don't have also, you would know Friedrich Nietzsche was an anti-theist, okay. But you can interpret the way Jordan Peterson interpret Friedrich Nietzsche, or you can interpret the way Christopher Hitchens interpret Nietzsche, or you can interpret the way that scumbag Alex O'Connor interpret Nietzsche, right? Why I call Alex O'Connor a scumbag? Because of this his subjective morality and rationalism, okay? Not rationalism, relativism, okay? Fuck that guy, okay? So, what I think is, what Friedrich Nietzsche is trying to say is this, coming from my personal experience, obviously, right? Philosophy is personal. Whether you read Plato, Aristotle, Socrates didn't write anything, but well, you read Socrates through Plato, even Dostoevsky, right? It's everything is personal, right? It depends who read the book, right? So I think Nietzsche here is talking about something really important for intellectual, I would assume, because he's writing, it's not for stupid people like me. So he's writing for these intellectual. The God is dead, right? God is been dying, okay? At least the Nietzsche time Christianity, right? So when he talk about God's being dying, so the story in this chapter, okay, at least in this part called Madman, right? This, the fuck in hell. This, in this part, there is one madman. He goes he goes with a lamp or lantern in morning hours, bright morning hours, go to the town hall and, scream, I seek God, I seek God, I seek God, right? See, there are lots of madmen amongst us. They seek God when we cannot really find God, right? So, wait, let me show you another book. Okay, where's that? Where's my? Okay, this one. We have been searching for gods for over like 4 million billion years. Okay, we didn't find. All we can find was charlatans. What's so called miracle? Oh, see, there is a miracle. There is a butterfly in my back. Could it be God? It could be spirit of Gabriel. Who knows? So, we have been searching for God, right? There are many people, right, amongst us. I mean, everyone wonder what is the meaning of life. What is this? See, the butterfly. Now there's a big butterfly. Now I'm kind of concerned. Maybe God's sending me angels. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, he's moving. So, the fuck are you doing? Get away. Get away from me, butterfly. Run away. I got sidetracked. Okay? Forgive me. Forgive me for my incompetence, just like God's incompetent. Okay? If God can be incompetent, I would say it's safe to assume I'm okay to be incompetent, right? So, this madman searching for God, which he don't find, okay? He going, see, as many of those who did not believe in God were standing around just then, he provoked much laughter. So, he was going in the town with a bunch of atheists, right? And many people laugh. And he is going to tell us, this madman, why is this madman telling us about God? So you have to take into consideration the character saying the God is dead and we have killed him is a madman, right? The madman, or in Richard Dawkins' words, a delusional guys are searching for God, and at the end of the day, he came to conclusion, the mad guy, I will tell you, we have killed him, you and I. Buddy, don't you dare say you and I, okay? I have nothing to do with the murder of God. I am innocent. I wash my hands, okay? So he says, he go on to say, this is the famous quote: God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. This is precisely what people, debate about, make what you call speculation. So I'm going to make my own speculation. I think what Nietzsche is saying, see, the God or Christianity or Islam or any other religion gave us a meaning, right? Give us, you see, there is a woman getting raped, right? Let's suppose it's an extreme example, I know. There is a woman getting raped, okay? Well, of course not. In some religion, if a woman get raped, she's considered to be the evil one, right? See, we let's look at from perspective of this woman who was getting raped, right? And she don't get the justice she deserve in this life, right? In Middle Ages or in Bronze Ages, I think it has to be the case in many occasions, right? Right now the justice system is quite good, and it's not perfect, but it's compared to Bronze Age, it's quite evolved, right? So what this woman do, she think and she prays. She prayed to God, oh God, this happened to me. What is the justice? Then she goes to the preacher or the father, or they say, don't worry, my child, everything's going to be okay. Everything according to God's plan. Okay, you're going to heaven and the rape is going to hell. It's all fine. Relax. See, I think this is what, when there is a huge amount of injustice happening in the world, people don't really get justice. They tend to lean towards God because we need justice. I think in core of mankind, we seek justice, we seek fairness, right? But the world is not always fair. World itself is not fair, and the universe is not fair. It does not care about our individual feelings or rights. Bad things happen to good people, right? So what Nietzsche is talking about in this 19th century intellectual circle, right? Once you take out the God from the picture, what you left with? Nihilism, right? It's very easy to fall into nihilism when you take out the God from the picture, because you see, for someone who growing up believing God, believing in a higher plan, believing in something after that, once you take that away from this person, I mean, got nothing left, right? Especially for these poor people who've been through life so much. So that's the thing he was talking about. I think he's necessarily not talking about God, but he is talking about nihilism, which I know there is. Nietzsche was a student of Arthur Schopenhauer, but he's very much against this nihilism and pessimistic worldview. Nietzsche want to create a meaning for each of us, make a new meaning. Now, it's not something easier to do, right? It's not something easier to do. And Friedrich Nietzsche, he is not being very nice about it. He's not walking you hand, holding hand through the park, right? He's kind of an arrogant and mean therapist. He tell you, you know what? Shut the fuck up. If the world is meaningless, if the God is dead, what are you going to do? You're going to say, like Arthur Schopenhauer, everything is meaningless. Being born is suffering, and we should not be born, right? That's not what Nietzsche is saying. He's saying, you know what? We should bring higher man, and we should create our own meaning. So Nietzsche and Albert Camus is somewhat similar, right? So Albert Camus is more fancy because he's French, he's eating baguettes and pastry and stuff. But Nietzsche is German, he's more rigid, you know how the Germans are, okay? Let us not forget, what some German did, okay? It's a joke, relax. So I think the Nietzsche is not making an argument for saying, the God is dead. It's we should be weep and we should be cry. He see this death of God as something as inevitable. The God is going to be die. He will die, and in Nietzsche word, he think God has already dead. Like at that time there was Charles Darwin, and there were many other philosophers who was like not only atheists, who wrote and do things against church and Christianity and the God. All that's nonsense, right? So that's what I think. But I disagree with Nietzsche on the exactly on that phrase when he says God is dead and we have killed him, because personally I haven't killed anyone. Okay, I'm a pessimist. Okay, I don't kill anyone. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an existentialist, but I haven't killed anybody, including God. Okay, I am innocent of the murder of God. First of all, I think there is like many possibility. I think God is not there. I don't think you can kill something that doesn't exist in the first place, right? So Nietzsche think, or at least this madman in gay science think that God did exist, but we have killed him, right? So what I think is, personally, you cannot really kill something that doesn't exist, okay? And my second view is, if if by any chance, if by any miracle, if scientists or somebody found out tomorrow that God does exist, there is a powerful being exist, don't mind, it's kind of starting to rain, that's why it's becoming dark, okay? God trying to scare me with his rain and butterflies and shit. Okay, I'm not scared. So if these scientists, or these all these things came to a light that yes, there is a God exists, it can be any God. Okay, let's suppose, for the sake of argument, the God of Christianity does exist, Yahweh, right? Why I'm taking Yahweh? Because I don't remember the last time a Christian threatened to beheaded someone for talking about their God in a bad manner. So that's why I'm talking about Yahweh. It's not an attack on Christianity. So the thing is, I would say, if God exists, you know what? If God exists, God cannot be good. He cannot be kind and good. It's either that, or it's either the worst case scenario, this God of ours is a sadist. He is. I'm using him as a pronouns for God. Is obviously a man. Okay, I don't think a woman would do. I don't think a woman God would give cancer to children and give tsunamis to kill innocent people. I don't think women are wired that way. Okay, women are wired that way. I think in general, women are more loving and kind. I know that doesn't seem to be the case in modern day social media, but I still believe the women are more kinder and loving than men, right? It's just my personal opinion, and I like to keep it that way. I may be a little bit biased toward women, okay, because I share 50% of gene from my mother, right? Another 50% from my father, right? So it's either God is not that powerful, or the God is a monster who like enjoys suffering. Maybe he have a little bit of kink for BDSM and fandom, this kind of thing. Okay, because the world, it's not a paradise. Now before you say the God created world this way, so you can go to the heaven. If the God can create a perfect heaven, why doesn't he create a perfect world as well? Something to think about. And yeah, that's my video on God is dead, God remains dead, and he shall remain dead, or whatever. And again, these are just my interpretation of Friedrich Nietzsche. You can read for himself. If you like to get into Nietzsche, I would recommend this book, Human or Too Human. Anyway, so cheers.